Welcome to History and Future of Mostly Higher Education. To be able to make alliances with other change makers. MozFest was exactly one of those alliances. Haystack, the open community that I co-founded with several others in 2002, is an example of an alliance. Haystack started as a website. It's now 12,000 people who realize there's something out of date about higher education, and it's time that we changed the way we think and function in higher education, that we have to be much more participatory, much more contributory, that we have contributive. We have to have a much wider sense of what assessment is and assess the whole person, not specifically content. That we shouldn't just be teaching a standard fixed body of knowledge, but we should be teaching people how to unlearn and relearn, how to adapt to a changing world. The Haystack community is dedicated to that kind of change. As I said, we started as a website. Now we're putting on international conferences. We had one in Toronto last year. We're going to Peru, Lima, Peru, April of 2014. And after that, we're going to be going someplace in Europe. The point of our network is new forms of education for a more just, equitable, and inclusive society. We believe that you can't have an exclusive educational system and hope to have a democratic, inclusive society. That the educational system you want has to match the society you want. The society you want has to be prepared for by the educational system you've designed. And we also believe that right now there's a mismatch between the possibilities of interactive global communication on the World Wide Web and the very shut down, over-tested, over-measured, over-prescribed, over-siloed, over-divisioned structures, intractable structures of the university, where so much depends on your major, on your field, on your certification, on being an A+ student, and not enough on thinking imaginatively and creatively across the human and social sciences as well as across technology and computational sciences. Some examples of alliances are not just Haystack, but Haystack's partners. Haystack, of course, anyone can be a member of Haystack. And then within Haystack, we also have had partnerships with other organizations. So for example, one thing I'm involved with is the PhD Lab in Digital Knowledge here at Duke. PhD Lab in Digital Knowledge is for graduate students. It's a way of training the next generation of graduate students into these methods of open learning and peer-to-peer assessment. But again, like my undergraduate classes, the PhD Lab is one where the students help to set the agenda and set the research projects and the research conversation of our events. The PhD Lab and Haystack are part of something called the Praxis Network. The Praxis Network is a network of networks that expand the role and the impact of people who are trying to think of new things to do in higher education. Another such alliance is FemTechNet. FemTechNet in fall of 2013 put on a series of interlocked courses all about focusing on the role of women in technology. As we've talked about before in this class, women have been very, very sadly left out of the technology revolution. We mentioned that on Wikipedia, participation by women is under 12%. Most computer science programs now have fewer women computer science majors, at least in the US, and actually in most countries worldwide, than they had in 1993 when our information age began. FemTechNet is an attempt to change that through an association of women and fellow traveling male faculty members around the US and abroad who are seeking to draw attention to the role of women and gender in the internet. Just Publics is one of my favorite digital humanities programs. It's at the CUNY Graduate Center, and like Haystack, it believes that open learning, social equity, social justice, and new technologies all go together. There's no point in having new technologies for an old society, an old view of society. There's no point having open learning unless it serves a new view of society. Around the world, there are THAT camps. THAT camp is THAT, another acronym, stands for the Humanities and Technology Camp. These are free camps that you can go to and learn computer skills, learn programming skills, and with enough of those programming skills, you can contribute to Mozilla, be part of the worldwide Mozilla Open Programmer Open Code network. The point of this is that singly, there's not much we can do. We can change our classrooms. We can have a huge impact on our students. As we've seen from all the people who've told us about their favorite teacher, one person can have an impact on other people's lives, and sometimes a profound impact on other people's lives. That impact is increased exponentially when we find other people like ourselves. We define ourselves, however loosely, as some kind of an alliance going forward so that our principles can concatenate and build on one another. And then the alliance is even stronger if we as change makers find other alliances of change makers and make common cause. That's kind of how the world changes. That's how the world rolls. See you next week, and thanks so much for being part of the history and future of higher education. Thanks.